right? It's not an impulse buy that you're looking at. So you need to make sure you have the right headspace when you're doing it. That being said, let's talk about Facebook advertising, which is different than everything I just talked about. Advertising on Facebook is different. It is next level to all of the social media stuff that I just talked about. You have to do what I just talked about first. Because if you run an ad on social media and you don't at least have your profile set up the correct way, it makes you look bad. It makes you look like you're money grubbing. You don't want that. So, boosting a post. Having limited organic shares to fans. Depending on how long you've been on Facebook, you may remember the fact that at one point in time, everybody that was your fan saw everything that you put out. Then they started changing that because they weren't making any money that way. Right? So, Facebook, Mr. Zuckerberg, changed that. And so now organically sharing to your fans is no longer as prominent as it was. So they said, hey, we have a solution. You can boost your post. Boosting your post and running an ad are two different things. Running an ad, traditional digital advertising, is highly targetable. Boosting a post is not. So let's look at each one of these so that I can tell you why you should not be boosting a post. Spoiler, okay, so in 2012, Facebook introduced a super easy way to sponsor your content called Promote Post. That's what it was called when it was first developed. With it, you could create a campaign without ever leaving your Facebook page. So it was super easy for you as the page owner to do this. It is still super easy. You see, well, it looks different than this now, but you go boost post for $50 or whatever it is. It's super easy. A few years later, they changed it to Boost Post, a couple more updates. It essentially is the same thing. It's a way to spend money on Facebook to get more people to look at your post. That part is good. As the organic reach changed over the past few years, page owners started turning to Boost Post in order to get their messaging in front of people. So that's why people were doing it. Why should you not do it? You should not do it because Facebook will always, always, always put your post using an algorithm that's for post engagement. More people will like it, more people will share it, more people will comment on it, that sort of thing, but that's not always what you want. If you want people to click on it, that is a different audience than people that will like it. A lot of times, if you put something out there, you'll notice everybody's liking my page, it's about a funeral. It's not something you like. That's because they're just in a habit, they just go through and like stuff. Right? That's the problem with boosting posts is if you want somebody to actually click on something and go to your site, sometimes that's not the right answer. They're, oh, that's me, I like that. Just keep running going. But thank you for liking it, that's not what I want. So, if you decide to boost a link post, which is what we're talking about going somewhere else, Facebook will still optimize for engagement, not for links. Very often you'll see ads that receive a ton of post likes and just a fraction of people clicking through to the website. You see here, engagement, 2,700, links, 141. So if you boost your post, this is always what they're going for, not this. And now, is that valuable? Sometimes. It's valuable if you're trying to use your post to generate awareness. You want more eyeballs because you want people to know what you're doing. You don't necessarily need an interaction with them. It's perfectly fine. But if you're actually wanting them to check something out, it's not going to be what you want. With Facebook, you have boost posts. You have three options. People who like your page, you can send it to people that are known for liking your page, your audience that you used to get for free. People who like your page and their friends. Super relevant fans, that's good. If you're in a networking group and you have a B2B business, then this is good. Because if you're in a networking group, they are likely in other networking groups as well. And if you're B2B, then they know it's very good for establishing who you are as a piece of awareness. People that you choose through targeting. Now, targeting is very, very important, but with Boost Posts, it's very limited as to what you can do. Basically, you can't choose any behaviors. You can't, it's very limited as to what you can choose for your audience. You can't do detailed targeting. You can't include or exclude people for a custom audience. For example, I represent a bariatric surgeon. And I told him just yesterday, the people in your area of town, you have no shortage of people that are overweight. Welcome to America, right? So you have certain behaviors that you need to target. People that are obsessed with dieting, because you have the whole yo-yo dieting. Those are the people that are prime behaviors for his product. People that like Weight Watchers, people that like Jay Craig, people that, and with things other than that, which I'll talk about today, you can target those behaviors, and you can't do that with Boost. With Boost, no matter which targeting option you choose, you can be wasting money. You're not. Sometimes it's good. If you're doing awareness, again, that's the key thing. Awareness versus action, then Boost is okay.
What does boosting cost?
It varies, but generally speaking, it's cheap.
But how they charge for it per click per engagement or just?
You're charged per impression. You're not charged per impression either. You set a budget, and then it'll keep going until they spend it all. All right. The big thing is it's super easy to do. Facebook does a ton of optimization automatically for you. However, it's not necessarily the objective that you want, and it might destroy your overall campaign result if you're doing it for a client. So something to be aware of. Facebook might eventually push most of the budget to the cheapest places that they are getting the cheapest clicks, as opposed to the best places.
Why do they do that?
Because Facebook is interested in spending your money. They're not interested in where you spend your money. Because if you wanted to be interested in where you spend your money, you wouldn't do it this way.
Yeah, they're just all about volume, they're just
Right.
turning volume. Which is
Same
why
thing
it's so
happens.
easy. I mean, aren't
It
they,
is.
when you can do other things, but aren't they much more difficult?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I'll go through in a second. Facebook might push as much as 99% of your advertising budget to somewhere you don't want it to be.
Wow.
In this case, mobile. This 99% went to mobile. If you don't have a mobile-friendly site, you just wasted money. So it's very important to understand what they're doing and to be prepared for it. What's wrong with that? Even though this is talking about mobile, conversion rates and this is changing. Conversion rates for mobile is less than desktop because people don't like to fill out forms on their phone. People, as time goes on, people are changing their behaviors. They're doing it more now than they used to. But generally speaking, if I have to type, I want to type this way, not this way. Which is why, if you do have a form, you need to make it super easy. So you're probably getting a ton of mobile traffic that does not convert at all or converts very badly. No matter which audience you want to have, page fans, whatever, there could be a more effective way of doing it if you actually made an actual ad as opposed to boosting the post, which is what we'll talk about next. So, a Facebook ad. Obviously, this is what I think you should do. But there's a lot more options, a lot more choices, and a lot of people get confused because it's more difficult to do, okay? Which is one of the reasons why most business owners, they just outsource this stuff. Because if your job is making widgets, right, you're really good. I am the best maker of this widget in the world. That's what you need to focus on. Outsource your accounting, outsource your marketing, so you can focus on making the best whatever it is that you're making. Now, the smaller you are, you don't have that option. Right? When you first start off, you're wearing all hats. Okay? But Facebook ads, you'll be able to make the most suitable campaign, with the most suitable objective, with the most relevant target, with the most complete control. Control is good. It also means you have tons of options and things to learn. Okay? generally speaking, these are the three things that you can put out there. You can do a photo, you can do a carousel, which is multiple photos, or you can do a video. Target audience is the key thing. So let's spend some time talking about that. You have customer profile first. You have to know who your customer is before you can do this. It's very important that you know exactly who your target is. What they look like, what they wear, what they eat, what their age is, what their income is, what they, whether they like barbecue sauce on their chicken, don't get too far. But you need to know them as well as you can, which is why we have consumer research. Okay? You need to know as much information about them as possible. Because if you like my product, then somebody just like you will probably like it too. So if I can figure out who you are, I can duplicate you with other customers. Which is why you ask your own customers this information so that you can find other people that look just like you. Okay, so it's important to know who your customers are and why they're buying from you. Very important. You can make a custom audience by matching who your people are, which is what I'm talking about. If you know that your customer, all right, first time home buyer, what do they look like? I know you know this.
What do they look like?
Yep.
Well, I'm thinking about between 24 and 44 years old.
24 to 44. How soon you come first time home buyer?
About 40,000.
$40,000. You know, big events, they want this, they want that. He knows all that information because he knows his business. That information is important if you want to match up people that look like them. Right? So you can target people that are moving because they have a new job. That detailed information is in Facebook. Facebook algorithm. They can do the work for you. If you have an email list that you collect of your customers, and you should, always collect people's email addresses. And always ask them where they heard of you. Another thing you should always ask. If you collect an email address, you can import that email address into Facebook and it will find those people. Not only that, but it can find other people that look like their profile.
Whoa.
Question.
Yes.
Like I know people got like 4 or 5 different email addresses. What if they use an email address they don't have on?
I have one that I use for when I don't want spam.
Right.
There's nothing you do about it.
Okay, so I didn't know if they found those also. That's all
How
like
much
that.
does that cost?
That's right.
Well, if you know how to do it, then it costs whatever your ad costs. If you know how to do it yourself, it's just as much as the ad costs. There's no extra cost for that.
For the algorithm?
It's just how to do it.
You get it when you do the ad.
The cost comes from paying someone like me that knows how to do
That knows how to do it.
it. So,
The devil's always in the details.
yeah. You can also target those people that have visited your website. If you have ever been to my website, I can find you on Facebook. That is scary, but super good for business owners.
How do you do that?
I am.
I'll talk about, yeah, I'll talk to you more about that in a second.
Pay for it.
Yeah. It's everything, look, people like me, the marketing world, what you're paying for is experience and expertise. There's nothing that I do that you can't do if you have the skill and the education.
The time.
So you have in the time. So you have to understand that's what you're paying for. Right?
Do you think it's important to keep a list of people that visited that just clicked on and then left? Because to me, if they
Yes.
looked, if they even came, they were kind of interested.
Yes. I will talk a lot about that in just like 2 seconds. Okay, so, important thing, you have your database, you can make a look-alike audience, right? So I have all of these people that, say I'm a car salesman, right? If you just bought a car from me, I'm not looking for you to buy a car again, you just bought a car from me. But I am looking to use all of your information to find somebody else just like you. Right? So you would still use that information, and you can target people that haven't bought from you, that have already, exclude people that have already bought from you. And you're still using their information to find other people. This is the big brother part, right? So, important parts. Know your audience, have an email list. That's the 2 ways how this works, yes.
I'm sorry, I keep asking a lot of questions. What about if you have multiple audiences? multiple customers.
Yes, then there are ways to if you have multiple targets, which segment and targets, you should have a different email list for each one,
Okay.
which means that if you keep, you'll have a big one, and then you should have different ways to sort it, and then import those sorted ones separately, and then you can identify that this email list is for this target. Does that make sense?
It does.
All right.
Well, let me ask you just a basic question, because some of the people in the audience are brand new, they don't even have a
Sure.
business yet, they're just started. What is their first step to build an email list?
To building an email,
Build a fan base or whatever you're looking for.
well, you have to, the first thing is you have to know who you are as a business. That's first. If you're just a guy that has an idea for a product, you have to figure out what that's going to look like to the marketplace. That's first. So you have to know who you are, then you have to figure out what it is you're going to say about yourself outside of what you do. Then you have to figure out how it is you're going to say that. All of that's what's called branding. That's before I ever get to the technical stuff. So that's first, is you have to figure out who you are and what you're about before you start making things. Once you have that information, then you can go on, once you've established all of that, who you are, what your messaging is going to be, and what you're going to look like, then you can start making the tools. You have to know who your customer is first, because you're going to need that information that goes into what you look like. Because people want things, why do you stage a house? Somebody else here was real estate also, but I remember you.
Why do you say so? People can see what it looks like.
So people can imagine themselves in the home. Right? So when you do something creatively, now today's not on branding, but if you do something creatively, you want your creative to look like them. So they can imagine themselves. If you look at a house advertisement for a restaurant, if you notice whoever the target is for that restaurant, that's the clothes they wear, the car that they drive, it's all very strategically pointed out so you, their target, can see yourself in that position. It's all thought over strategically by somebody like me in a room.
When we talk about branding, if you're a person that likes to be behind the scenes, you really don't like to be on the forefront, do you think it's important to put yourself out there so people can see?
Yes and no.
Okay.
You do not have to be Flo. Everybody know what I mean by that? You don't have to be the spokesperson. But particularly when you're starting out, you do have to be forthright about who you are because people like to connect with the owner. That doesn't mean you have to lead the brand, but you do have to be, in the About Us section, you need to be there. Because people like to feel like, oh, I know her, I understand her, I believe about, they have a connection with the owner. Now, the bigger your company becomes, the less important that is. But Steve Jobs has a lot to do with why Apple was successful. You had something? Somebody? All right, so moving on. Photo marketing. Has anybody heard of photo marketing?
Lots of great information.